Be honest, are you surprised by these results? Out of 23,000 people who watch my videos, 75% have never attended a cube competition before. Well, if that's you, or even if it isn't, here's an entire video where I answer 30 of your questions about comps, like this one or this one. And while that happens, here are some personal highlights from me and my daughter's recent competitions. Let's go. First question, how long do you practice every day? The answer, 40 hours, of course. Just kidding. Look, I can go for long stretches without touching the cube, but on average, between all the different events, maybe half an hour to an hour a day. I mean, this next person's question, how do you practice for a comp? Do you practice more just before the day of the comp? Yeah, if there's something coming up, something that I need to focus on, then that really gives me the motivation I need to want to really try and get better at something specifically. For me, comp practice starts maybe the week before, and I just systematically go through all the events that I have coming up. Probably one of the most common questions I get, how do you deal with nerves and expectations? The short answer is, there's no easy way over it or under it. The only way is through. My daughter actually has a pretty interesting routine that she uses before she starts solves. You'll see her close her eyes, take a deep breath, just calm herself down and center her mind. I do that sometimes, but it depends on what event I'm sort of preparing for. I think the key is knowing yourself. Some people actually do a lot better when they're all excited and their heart is racing, and others really need to be quite calm and focused to be able to solve well. Most people seem to solve really well when they're in that flow state. They're in the zone, it's just them and the cube. So I think the trick is to figure out, how do I reach that flow state? And quite often, it's by not actually thinking about it. Just get into it and just solve. Expectations wise, that's a really hard one. I'd say lower your expectations, but we all know that's not really possible. I think you want to set your goals high, but a positive sense of self means knowing who you are, being confident in your self-worth, whether or not you get a good time. But again, Curious Nick, if you figure this out, please let me know.
Nice one.
How many signatures or selfies do you have to hand out in your average comp? A few here and there. If everyone comes running to me all at once, it can get pretty crazy, but otherwise I really don't mind. I really enjoy meeting you guys, and it means a lot to me when you tell me how much of a difference my videos have made for you. So yes, if you meet me in a comp, 100% you can take a photo with me. Are cubing competitions in English or the national language? Look, I've only ever been to comps where they've been done in English, but definitely if English is not spoken in your part of the world, it doesn't make any sense that it would be in English. It will be in your local language. What are your comp goals for this year? I would really like to get double digits for multi-blind, so solving at least 10 cubes blind in under an hour. I would also love a sub 20-second one-handed average, and man, it's been too long since I've gotten a 3x3 PR. That has to happen this year, surely. How much footage do you record in your blog videos? A lot. If it's a big competition, then, between me and the kids, easily like hundreds of gigabytes. Not even kidding. Are there prizes in cube comps? Yes, sometimes, although that of course isn't usually the motivation for most people to go. I know that the World Cube Association tries to keep costs as low as possible so that cubing is accessible to everyone. So that of course means it would be good if your entry fee didn't also include partly funding the prizes for that comp. But for comps in Australia, they always hand out really nice certificates for the podium winners. And personally, just knowing that you got that third or second place can mean a lot more than getting a prize. I've actually never gotten first place in any event before, so maybe that's another goal for 2024. How do you actually organize a cube competition? Lots of cubists in my town, but no comps. That's a tricky one. This could be because you also don't have any local WCA delegates, and you totally need them for a competition. My suggestion maybe is to find the competition that was organized closest to where you are. And if you find that competition page on the WCA website, look for who the delegates were, the organizers even, and if you can try and get in touch with them, they might be able to help you figure this out. Oh, this is a big question. How do I convince my parents to let me go to another competition? Another one? So have you already been to one? I guess you want to let them know how much that competition meant to you, and maybe how going to it will continue to challenge you and improve you, not just, with the cube, but even like mentally and socially with other people. This is a tough one because, behind this is the question, well, what's your relationship like with your parents in the first place? I think open conversation is the key here. Ultimately, you do want to respect your parents and their decisions, but be honest about your feelings and what the competition means to you. And yeah, hopefully they can see that and something can work out. Aisha asks, is it fine if you get a bad time on your first solve if you're nervous? Great question. Almost everyone is nervous on their first solve. And getting a bad time can really get you down and then even make you do worse in the subsequent solves. But what I want to say is that if it was that easy for you to get a bad time on that solve, it's just as easy for there to be a great time on your next solve. And I mean, this next question, which I think is related, as a dad of young Cuban kids, could you share some wisdom about guiding young people through the roller coaster of emotions they might experience at a comp, especially when they're upset at something that didn't go very well? I think you nailed it. Roller coaster of emotions is so accurate. I mean, come on, it's not just the young kids, it's us adults too, right? That high you feel when you get a personal best, man, there's nothing like it. But then the anger and the sadness that you feel when you get a terrible time, that's so embarrassing and disappointing. On one hand, I think it's totally okay to just feel it. If you're upset, just be upset for a bit. That's fine. If you're happy, be happy. You know, enjoy that as well. Don't feel like you need to fix and change these emotions to be something else. But at the same time, just know that it'll pass. If someone else is feeling really sad about their times, I wonder if the best thing to do maybe isn't to try and like snap them out of it and tell them, don't worry, you're so much better than that. At least this didn't happen, or at least this didn't happen. Like maybe just be upset with them, validate their feelings a little bit. And then as time passes, you know, things will start to feel better. Oh, by the way, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, I mean, it's free, like you might as well. I've been to 2 comps because of you, and I've one coming up with lots of events. That's so cool. Should I get better at the ones I know or learn more puzzles? That is completely up to you. Some people love to focus on specific events and they'll find the competitions that have that event and they'll get really good at it. Other people go for the jack of all trades, all-rounder route. I think I tend to be more like that. I enjoy lots of different puzzles. So it's up to you, buddy. Focus on one if you like, or learn more puzzles. They're all great options. What are your thoughts on Timebase? Do you think you'll be introduced to Australian comps? In short, I think Timebase is brilliant on so many levels. Its accuracy, its ease of reporting, both for the officials at the comp, but also to spectators, people looking at WCA Live. But I do think there are a lot of hurdles to cross, a lot of expense in both planning and money that has to be involved. If this is going to start being implemented more widely across the states, let alone in other countries, I would love to see it in Australia. But the realist in me thinks it'll be quite a while before that happens, if at all. What's a cheap camera so I can record my solves during comps? I personally use GoPros that are a few years old now, but I think they do the job really well still. You can also get much cheaper action cameras. Secondhand ones still work great. But I see a ton of people just using their phones to record solves, and they do the trick really well. You just want to make sure that the screen's not facing you, that you've got some way of like propping it up so it doesn't fall and distract you and other people. But otherwise, that's probably the easiest way to go. Should I learn more algs leading up to a competition? Short answer, no. But having said that, in my very last competition, I literally learned a new algorithm like in the middle of a round, because in between solves, my judge showed me a new thing and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I ended up using it in the next solve. So yeah, maybe don't do that. But in my defense, it was a pretty easy algorithm, not, one of those super complicated sets. So yeah, I don't know. It depends on the complexity of the algorithm and the puzzle, I guess. Next, should you always stay hydrated? Yes. Do you get to bring in your own 3x3 or is one provided? If the year was 1982, then a cube would be provided for you. But since then, you do have to bring your own 3x3 in, which is great because it means you can set it up exactly to your liking. You can pick the one that you like. However, this next question, do you need to bring in your own timer and mat? No, you don't have to do that. So really the only thing that you need to bring to a comp is, your cubes and a positive attitude. Although, how many cubes do you bring with you? Very good question. At very least, obviously just one for each event that you're doing. I personally like to bring 2 of each cube because I like having something in my hands between the solves that I can use to warm up with when they take your main cube away to be scrambled. Of course, not everyone's going to have 2 of each puzzle, but most people at a comp would have more than one 3x3. So just even another 3x3 in your hand to just keep your fingers warm and moving. It's probably a good way to go. You probably don't want to bring too many cubes to a comp, just for safety and, the security of those cubes. Just Caitlin asks, how do you feel as an adult at comps? How do you make friends? I'm 29 and I see so many kids and teenagers at comps, which makes me feel too scared to go to one because I'll feel lame / weird / creepy / left out. You is a speaking my language. I am 10 years older than you, Caitlin. Well, my body is. In my mind, I probably am still a bit of a little kid. But, I wonder if that's what makes comps so fun. We've all got a little kid that's still in us. We're playing with a toy after all. We can't be that mature, right? But my answer to this is there are a lot of other adults at comps as well. Obviously, parents of the other kids who are there. But I don't think I've ever been to a competition where there hasn't also been other adult cubers. And I personally really like finding finding out what drew those other adults to cubing as well. Because, you know, kids and cubing, like, that's normal. No one bats an eyelid at that. But when you meet another grown-up who's as obsessed with Rubik's Cubes as you are, I mean, that's a curiosity, right? Tell me more about that. Also, I think probably not as many eyeballs are on you as you think there might be. We're probably more self-conscious than these kids, which maybe makes us feel like we're standing out more when we actually aren't. Whatever it is, it's not lame or weird or creepy to go to a cubing comp. More adults cubing, I say. Make cubes adult again. Yeah, nah, that really didn't work. Sorry. How'd you get very good times, even in your first comp? Well, I personally don't think I got great times in my first comp, so I guess the answer is it's very subjective what a good or bad time is. But the second part of your question, how do you learn one-handed? I've tried learning it and it was so hard for the finger tricks. Yes, I hear you, friend. It is very hard, but I am planning to make a tutorial on that soon, so watch this space. Can you register for only one event, or do you have to register for multiple events? When you sign up for the Cube Comp on the WCA webpage, there should be a place where you can indicate which events you want to solve. You only need to choose at least one. I mean, you could choose 0, but then why are you registering for the comp? 3 very important questions. What's your favorite color? How often do you go to dentist? And the event you wish you were... Strange questions, but sure. My favorite color at the moment is probably like a tealish blue. How often do I go to the dentist? Not enough, but I've been trying to go like every year. And the event I wish I was very good at right now is FMC. How does being a judge at an official WCA event work? Can anyone volunteer? Do they need to be trained? If I'm not wrong, at almost every comp, anyone is allowed to be a judge. But yes, you really do want to be trained in some way. Usually there's some sort of training at the start of the day for people who haven't judged or competed before. But I mean, not to plug myself, but I've got a video on how to judge at a WCA comp. It's specifically for Australian comps, but there will be some things there that you can use for your region too, I'm sure. Link in the description.
17.01.
Ooh.
What's yours?
16.43.
You gotta be kidding me. Is it actually?
Yeah, it is.
Who is your favorite Australian delegate? Oh boy. Look, you know me, I'm not one to play favorites, but hands down, my favorite delegate has to be